Okay.
Hello, St. Peter's friends. Welcome to Time Up Front. Today, we're not in front of the comfy blue couch. We're just behind where my house is, although it's down a pretty muddy path this week. Today, I wanted to think about songs. Happy Birthday. We all know that song. We also know "O Canada." It's something that we sing at the beginning of hockey games and the beginning of school. Everybody knows what song to sing on those occasions, right? Well, I wanted to share today that the Bible is like a library and it has lots of different writings in it, and one of the books that's in the library is called the Book of Psalms. It's a book of songs like prayers. And just like we have a song for those occasions like birthdays and hockey games, the Psalms has a song for every occasion as well. There are prayers in there for when you're happy, when you're sad, and even when you're mad. Even when you're mad at God. And that happens sometimes. But that's okay, because God always listens to us with love. When you want to pray with words, but don't know what words to say, the book of the Psalms helps us with words. Jesus loved the Psalms, and today we have a psalm that he liked in particular. Now, the Psalms all have numbers, and this one is Psalm 23. And I thought I would share with you some of the symbols or the pictures that are in that psalm today. We'll put it together at the end, but it starts with, "The Lord is my shepherd." Now, God is a spirit, but the person who wrote this psalm thought that if God was like a person, God would be like a shepherd. So if it starts with a shepherd, you know you have to have sheep. And if God is like a shepherd, then maybe we might be a little bit like sheep too. At least to the person who wrote the song. And that's not a bad thing, because sheep are very important. They can provide food, and with their wool they provide blankets and warmth and clothing and shelter. And if shepherds take care of the sheep, and if God is the shepherd and the sheep are important, then God must love the sheep very, very much. The Lord is my shepherd. We know we are loved. What a great way to start a song. And then it says, "I shall lack for nothing." Now, shepherds make sure that the sheep have what they need to live. Green grass, this grass is coming to be green, and water, and a good place and a safe place to be all together. God has given the world for us to live in, and it provides all that we need. The world has land to grow crops, it has food for us, water to drink, a place to live, and a way to be kind and to share love, and people to invent things that help us. We just have to share all those things, the way that the sheep share the pasture. And then the songwriter says, "He makes me lie down in green pastures." Well, you know what it's like when you can get out into the fresh air among the trees and the grass. You just feel better, right? God has given us a beautiful world to live in. Sheep like the green pastures, and we like the rocks for climbing and the trails for biking, and we like the wind in the trees, and we like how it feels when we're skiing along on the snow. And so it's not just about lying down on the grass and having a snooze. It's about how wonderful it is to live in this beautiful world. And then the song says, "He leads me beside still waters." Like this. It's almost still. Now, I also want to say that shepherds can be men or women, And God is spirit, so God has no gender, but God is all genders. Sometimes our language doesn't help us very well in that regard, so when the people were translating the scriptures, they used the word he. So that means that the shepherd, though, can be whoever the shepherd is, the great spirit of God. So still waters. This water is still most of the time. Most animals like to drink from still water because fast water can be a little bit scary. It's kind of like when you're in a canoe or a kayak and the wind is up and there are waves, and then you come around the corner into a beautiful bay and the water is calm and still, and it makes you feel calm and restful too, especially if you've been paddling in the waves. The sheep like to drink by still waters, and it helps them to become calm too. So when we're anxious, we might have a special place of quiet. It might not be the green grass, but it might be a place in your room or under a special tree, some place where you go to settle down and become a little bit less anxious. And then you can sit there and breathe and get relaxed and calm again and know that the Spirit of God is within you. In our breath, we feel God's breath. So lying beside the still waters is a way that God is with us in the calm and helps us to get to that place. I wonder where you like to go to get calm. Is it your room? Is there a tree or a special place in your house? A snuggle with your mom or dad? Or maybe it's listening to special music or a particular song. A still place is good. Now the next part of the song says, God restores my soul. Do you remember how in the story of creation, God rested on the seventh day? God set an example because God was maybe restoring God's own soul. God reminds us to take a break from work so that we don't just focus on getting stuff done. God calls us to focus on the other things that make us human beings, like playing and like loving each other and taking some time to be kind and share what we have, and some time to be creative. I know that you are creative in a lot of ways. Those refreshing things make us strong in our spirit, ready to be kind and peaceful and gentle and brave. I wonder what you will do today to play and refresh your spirit. The next part of the song says, He leads me in paths of righteousness for His name's sake. There are some pretty big words there. It sounds kind of weird, but it's about doing the right thing as we go along our way, the path of life. It's about being in a good place with your friends and your brothers, your sisters, your parents. Being in a good place where you can be like friends together. Sheep need to go from pasture to pasture, and often there is a path that shows them the way so that they can get there without too much trouble. Sometimes sheep might wander off the path. And sometimes we do things like get in arguments with the people in our family or among our friends. But just like the shepherd helps the sheep to get back on the path, God teaches us how to speak with forgiveness and kindness and how to say we're sorry and make things right again. Parents can help us learn this, and soon we learn to do it ourselves. And Jesus shows us how to do it too in the stories of Jesus' life. Next comes this. Even though I walk through the darkest valley, I will fear no evil, for you are with me. Sometimes the world isn't just beautiful, sometimes it can be dangerous. Sometimes sheep have to travel through dangerous territory. The dark valley means the scary stuff. The songwriter says that just like the shepherd helps the sheep through the scary or the dangerous places along the path, God is with us too when bad things happen. It might not feel like it at first, but God's Spirit is there, and we can trust that God is true to God's word. And I find that when somebody is near to me who cares about me when I'm scared, to hold my hand or to talk to me, I feel the Spirit of God in them. And then I know that yes, God is with me, especially in this person who is beside me. The Spirit of God is in us to help us to be brave and to help us help each other to be brave. Parents, friends, and pets, the beautiful land, in all these things, God is with us. And then it says, your rod and your staff, they comfort me. Your rod and your staff, they comfort me. This is a hiking pole, but the shepherd carries a stick, at least in the day of the person who wrote the song. Like a shepherd who carries a stick for a staff, they would gently move bushes out of the way, maybe if a lamb got stuck there, and a staff could help the shepherd get up rocky places. I use my hiking stick to support me, so it will support my weight when I'm stepping up on a rocky path. So the staff is something that supports us. You might have a hiking stick that you like to use when you're hiking up the hills amongst the rocks, and you'll know how it helps you, especially in the steep places, because you can lean on it and give it a little bit of your weight while you're climbing. There are things in our church life, in our spirit life, that support us too, and God is with us in those things. Things like when we have communion, and our other rituals of welcoming the autumn or welcoming the solstice, our rituals of prayer and ringing the bell, rituals of songs. These are the kinds of things that support us in our spiritual life. So Spirit Quest and the things that we learn about forgiveness, they support us. The things we learn about working out our troubles with our words and not violence, that supports us. The journey of the Spirit is supported by many people and many of the things that we learn. We are glad that we have these things to support, like the rod and the staff. God is in them and they support us. And now the song says, you prepare a table before me in the presence of my enemies. Whoops, I'm losing a sheep. That's okay. Now sheep will have enemies like wolves and bad weather and cliffs. We might not have enemies, but we all have people who disagree with us and who sometimes we don't get along with. People who might disappoint us. But we have a banquet of things to help us when that happens. Perhaps these cookies could be the symbol of the people who are our allies, the people who stick up for us. We need to be a cookie too, to stick up for other people and help them. And that way, the Spirit of God in us is helping other people. And this fruit that is in the bowl, maybe that's all the chances that we have to learn about people and different ways, things that are different from us, so that we understand. Understanding helps us to listen, even if we don't agree. And if you have a drink, perhaps that's the teaching that we get at church about how we understand ourselves, so that we don't do or say things that hurt other people. We learn about so many things there that help us to avoid being the mean one. God's way teaches us to learn and to listen, and to work things out and try to understand each other, and decide upon what the right action might be. So all of those things are like food on a table for strength when you need it. The next part of the song says, "You anoint my head with oil." Now you've seen me use this at church when I anoint people's foreheads with oil and make a prayer for healing. Oil used to be placed on the head of people that God had chosen for a special job, like a king or a prophet. I make a healing prayer for people at church and put a little oil on the forehead to remind them and to remind all of us that we are God's holy people and that God hopes that we will have a long and happy life. Being God's holy people also means that we have a job to do, to spread kindness and goodness and healing any way that we can also in the world. To be a child of God is to show that kindness and to treat others like we know that they too are holy and beloved by God, because they are. And now the next part of the song says, "My cup overflows." Now, if you were going to write everything you're thankful for on a piece of paper and put it in a cup, I wonder if that cup would be able to hold the names of all the things you're thankful for. This is a great thing to try. Write a big list and then cut the pieces of paper up of all the things that you're thankful for, and then put them all into a cup or a glass and see if you need more room. I do. Another thing you can do, Isaac will get the paper, don't worry. Another thing that you can do is you can pour water into a cup in the sink, and you can think about all the things that you're thankful for while you're pouring the water in. So, I'm thankful for my family and my friends and my church and the sun and the land and the earth and the food and the animals and all the creatures that come to me, and my cup is overflowing. I bet if you did that, your cup would overflow too. We are grateful for all the gifts on earth. And my friends, there is so much goodness. Life is a gift, and I know that it's hard right now not being able to be with your friends at school and goofing around out on the soccer field. But God has been generous, and God has made such stuff as love and hope and food and neighbors and birds and fish and water to canoe on and squirrels to watch and ice cream. We have blessings. We have so many blessings. I wonder if you could make your cup overflow with your thankfulness. Maybe as a family, you can make a list and name all the things that you're thankful for and see how full your cup gets. And now we're coming to the end of the song. The end of the song says, "Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life." When you have the overflowing cup, and when you have so much goodness in your life, you know that that goodness has been with you. And when we are able to forgive one another, that is called mercy. That's part of mercy. And we know that when someone forgives us, or we forgive someone else, or someone takes special care of us, we know that that goodness is with us. This is one of my favorite parts of this song. It reminds me that when we are kind and forgiving and gentle and friendly and good and helpful and neighborly and loving, when we are any or all of these things, we are putting goodness into the world, and we are putting mercy into the world, and we are showing God's love in the world with our love. We help God make goodness and mercy be with the people of the world, in the lives of many others. And that is such a cool thing to be able to do. Last part, I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever. That's kind of like saying, I'm going to be in God's flock or God's family forever. Now, here's the cool thing about that. This St. Peter's family is a great flock to be in as part of God's great flock. The flock, or the people, all together, we help each other to learn God's way. We help each other to share God's love. And we help each other to see God's goodness, because sometimes, especially if we're feeling kind of grumpy, we don't really see the good things. But together, we can help one another. We are the holy, wonderful people that God has made us to be. And I really like that you are in the St. Peter's flock, because I see so much joy and kindness and creativity in you. You have shown me God's joy. You have shown me God's love. You have shown me God's path. We need each other. So being in the flock doesn't mean that we're all the same. It means that we are together in heart and in mind. Being part of God's flock is a wonderful thing. We are grateful for God who is our shepherd. Thank you for coming to our time up front this week. Would you like to hear the whole song put together? This is the song that helps us to live well, a song that many people love. And it says, your family might help you with this too, because I bet your parents know it more or less by heart. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want, or I shall lack for nothing. He makes me lie down in green pastures. He leads me beside the still waters. He restores my soul. He leads me in paths of righteousness for his name's sake. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, or the valley of deep darkness, I will fear no evil, for you are with me. Your rod and your staff, they comfort me, or they support me. You prepare a table before me in the presence of my enemies. You anoint my head with oil. My cup runneth over, or my cup overflows. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever. It's a great song. Maybe your parents can help you look it up in the Bible. Thank you for coming to Time Up Front. out here behind my house. I'll see you next time.